Stickers all along the race course and bridge throughout the weekend. Scan a QR code for answers. I don't think we'd be having this regatta without Moderna.
Okay.
We see our first crew coming around the corner here.
Yeah, and through Weld, the crew in first was College Club Seattle, bow number 1, and which means that's probably who we're looking at right now. And that is Melissa Perlstein, stroke, Megan Gradeck in bow.
They did win this event last year,
Yep.
and they have returned to defend their title. This is their second year rowing together as a double.
4-second lead at Weld. 2-second lead at Riverside, 4-second lead at Weld on bow number 2, which is a local crew, Alexis Sneff Belikovsky, whose husband passed us earlier in the 30 and 40 singles, and in stroke, Tina Vandersteel.
And I know from the previous events when we were talking about double-digit leads for the Heather Charles, but a 2 to 3 second lead is still fairly significant.
Yeah, it's a length. So here we go. Alexis and Tina. Go Stripes. Now, it's hard to tell, necessarily just on the gaps, what's going on with the leads, which is why the app is so helpful. Because when you're sitting on the starting line and the starting marshals are saying, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, they tell you to keep a 2 to 3 length gap. But they don't really yell at you too much if you let more than that. And okay, here's bow number.
In front of us right now in the red hall, that's bow number 2 from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hillary Gaiman and Kelly Salcio MacArthur.
Yep.
They competed in Sydney and Athens in the quad.
And they were running in 4th place at Weld. So your objective is to cover the course as fast as possible, and your objective is to minimize things that slow you down. So, if you're trying to get into a tete-a-tete with the crew in front of you, you might leave a bigger gap. Okay, now local crew, Cambridge Boat Clubs, Yvette Martz and Roberta Turi-Weiss. Roberta is the current club president at CBC.
And you can
go CBC.
You can hear the CBC crowd here cheering them on. And approaching the green buoy to our left, downstream, that's bow number 7. So they've overtaken a couple crews. That's Lake Union, Elizabeth Gallinger, and Kathleen Pratt.
Yeah, CBC was in 5th place at Weld and is in 4th place here. So we'll sort of see if that holds over the next couple of crews.
And then approaching the dock now in the pink shirt, dark unis, bow number 6, Mort Lake, coming from London, Rebecca Campbell and Christina Mattiotti. And they have overtaken bow number 5 in the pink unis. That is Quinsignment Rowing Club's Amy Mayer and Jennifer Devlin.
Yeah, so right now you had College Club Seattle with a 10-second lead over Riverside at CBC, and then Riverside with a good gap over Lake Union in 3rd.
And again, for those at home or on the bridge or shoreline, these numbers, we're getting them from the Regatta Central webpage.
Yep.
So you're welcome to follow on your own.
on the app.
And it's on the app. So you're welcome to follow along or follow your favorite crews through the app. This isn't any sort of secret proprietary information we have. We're just announcing you as it comes public. And these are unofficial times until later in the day.
Until the referees, so you overlap the race in front of you. Somebody doesn't get out of the way. There's the possibility for some interference one way or another. So that's why they try to leave healthy gaps. Okay, bow number 8. That is
Row America Rye.
Yep,
Elise Napek and Marjut Savage. And they're being overtaken or being closely tailed.
By Narragansett, Francesca Baudin, Kimberly Worrell.
And bow number 11.
And then we've got bow number 11 from Medford, New Jersey, Dana Anders and Tanya Stack.
Still a little out of date. I just have them listed as unaffiliated here.
And got some interesting sculling going on up here. Okay, look for little.
Watch out! We have oars on hull. In high vis, we have bow number 14, Riverfront Recapture, Jill Shepard, Jill Hardy, who are taking a cross-course route, and they tapped into bow number 13. Another London crew, Mort Lake, Anna Ramsden, and Zoe Brass.
Bow number 9, Stephanie Faulkner and Michelle Weller from Treasure Cove in Palm City.
So those of you just watching right now, you did see they head to hold water. That's Riverfront Recapture.
Bridge collision, which should be okay because I think the tightest line is on the other side of the bridge. So they'll press their way off the bridge abutment here. Looks like the boat's in good shape.
They have plenty of gap before the next cruise, but they did have to hold water, and they tapped the bridge there with the bow oars.
And bow 16. Catherine Timms and Shannon Van Balen from South Niagara up in Welland.
Being chased by bow number 17, Jessica McClary
and Heather Hollis from Whitemarsh. Yeah, so we'll get to it. We'll talk about the outside of the turn here when these last two crews go by.
In front of us right now in the yellow hull, San Diego Rowing Club's Michelle Nielsen and Tina Meld. And trailing them, approaching us now in the high vis. It's another club that I love because they're easy to identify. Riverfront Recapture, Laura Christoph, and Sanda Fair.
Yeah.
Also, I rode in Hartford, so I saw them all the time back in college.
So, other nuances of the Eliot Bridge, aside from rather unforgiving bridge abutments. As you're approaching this turn from about 500 meters down, it's a gradual turn to your port side. So, it's sort of 1, 2, 3, turn 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, turn 2, 3, and you can kind of come around the bend pretty evenly. But then you get to about 100 yards from the bridge, and it bangs a 90-degree angle. So if you get lulled into following these orange buoys and you're on a comfortable line, you have to recognize that you've got to sharpen it up and work it for 5 or 6 strokes. So it'll look like the stroke ratings popping up at CBC, because what people will often do is shorten up on their outboard and go dead on their inboard and just jack it for a few strokes. If you don't do that, in a single, you've got a fair amount of real estate between the orange buoys on the Boston side and the green buoys on the Cambridge side that you can correct. If you don't correct, you saw what happened in that doubles race where it's a gradual kiss of the bridge abutment on the Cambridge side. If you're in a fours race, or even more likely in an eights race, and you miss that 90-degree turn 100 yards from the bridge, your ability to correct and stay away from that bridge abutment on your starboard side is very, very limited. So the regatta says, okay, we'll solve that problem. We'll put the green buoys on the other side of the bridge abutment so that you've got an emergency off-ramp if you need to have it. Now, between the bridge abutment and the emergency off-ramp, just outside of that is the BBNN dock.
Yes.
So, if you don't make that 90-degree turn and there are 3 or 4 eights coming around that bend at the same time, it can get really lively on that bridge abutment, but also for the people that are standing on the BBN dock.
Oh, yes. And also on the other side of the bridge, for the little off-ramp there, you have about 100 meters before you run directly into the Belmont Hill dock. So you have to take a further hard turn to the center of the river, which, if you're running 4 boats across, there's going to be boats there.
Yeah, it's like one of those infomercials. But wait, it gets better. So you blow the turn here. You wind up in the emergency lane. You drag your oars. You try to correct back. The crews that are coming on the fast race line on the inside of the arch are angling for the Belmont Hill dock. And there can be a boat in the off-ramp coming back into the race course. And you've got to be careful that on the apex of the next turn, you don't create a collision. Yes. So get back to okay, look, masters rowers have done this course 10, 20, 30, 40 times. you get these junior coxswains where it's their
Yes.
first time up the river. And they're flying in tight formation, or maybe they're dogfighting with the crew next to them. It gets wild.
And I am not a coxswain, but I have been debriefed by coxswains who have told me when you're rowing an 8 at speed, at pressure, coming around the corner, the calculations for that hard 90 degree turn to make it through the center arch, that's essentially a blind corner when you're dealing with youth boats, because you are so far back and the rudder is so small that to be able to make the turn, you have to start making the turn when you're still around the corner. You cannot see the bridge yet. So if you miscalculate that by 5 degrees, 10 degrees, you're going into the abutment.
Or if you've got a starboard stroke boat and your bow seat is on port and you can't use the bow and 3 to really drag the bow around or push the bow around. And that's another, like, you know, in a sculling boat, you push the bow around. In a sweep boat, you're skidding the hull around using the rudder. So a coxswain that knows how to use his rowers to make the turn has an advantage as well, because, you know, every time you go on that rudder, you're scrubbing speed, and it just kills you in terms of you know, your competitive position. Okay, next race, more racing coming up.
Next up,
No more color commentary.
Event number 14, men's master doubles. Course record was set in 2003. 2003. I believe we heard one of those records got broken earlier today. So this may be another one of those years where every course record is set in 2022. We'll see.
And we got some action at Weld. Maritime was in first place, followed by Fairmount, followed by bow number 1, Riverside. So we'll probably be seeing bow 1 first.
Yes, the top 5 crews are all returning from last year, so I would not be surprised to see them come down the course in order.
Bow 1 doing well. It's Sean Wolf and Pete Morelli. They've won this race several times in a row. They've got a good gap on the crew behind them.
Yes, and it does appear that it is bow number 2 right behind them. As we were talking about before, at the start line, they try to space you out for 2, 3 lengths. The high competition rowers, I know they like to space themselves out a little bit more so they get clean water. I'd say this is pretty close to their starting distance.
That's probably but so the course record in this event was set by Dan Gorarian and Mike Smith back in 2003. Those guys, between the two of them, over the 40 plus and the 50 plus doubles, had something like 16 first places. Here's bow number 3, Mike Ferry and Greg Kaplan. Go, Mike. But I think in terms of crews on the water and total first place wins, that Smith-Guerrerian double was like right at the top of the pile in terms of event success.
In front of us right now, we have bow number 7, Maritime Rowing Club, Jake Watkins and Nate Kelly.
So this is the crew that was in first place at Weld.
That's another Trinity College alum right there, Nate Kelly.
Okay, so we'll be watching these ones.
They overtook bow number 4, red rowing long sleeve red oars. That is Potomac. You recognize them with the star on their oars. Sherman Knight and Jason Hughes.
So Sean and Pete went through here in 14:19. Let's see what we got for the Maritime guys. 14:01. So that's an 18-second lead. We're on course record watching this event. Okay, so 14:01, under 3 minutes to the finish line from here. It was a 17:13. I'm putting my chips down. I think we're going to have this is going to be our 4th record. This is going to be our 4th record of the day.
I wouldn't be surprised. Nate's really good.
Yeah, I think he's got a pen guy in the boat with him, right? Yeah.
Bow number 6.
Okay,
and
now
approaching us now is bow number 6. I'll let you handle that one.
Yep. So bow number 6 is Edgar Nan and Danilo Chinchilla from Amatitian Rowing Club in Guatemala.
Again, welcome to Boston.
Excellent international representation. Happy to have you guys here.
Close to us, Greater Columbus Rowing's John King and James Waterfeld in the burnt orange unis and blades. On the other side, Boston side of the river, bow number 10, coming from Mexico, Sir Christian Molvig and Klaus Rasmussen from Mexico.
I'm going to sound like Tony Romo here.
Oh, see, this is what we were talking about. There's the little out route, and now they have to cut back in.
Wait for this crew to come through. We'll give a little more color.
Bow number 12, Edward Demetrio and James Beasley.
Eddie
Cornell
Demetrio,
and Dartmouth, a couple Ivy League rowers rowing together.
So one thing about announcing and officiating at this regatta is we have to zip it when we see somebody heading for a bridge.
Yes, which it can be challenging at times. We're not supposed to comment or give advice or anything along the nature if there's going to be a collision.
So last week we had a race here called the Q, and it was like 170 juniors, and we've got a referee's launch every 200 meters. At that one, it's like make it fun for the kids, and the referees are actually allowed to actively coach the athletes. So that one, it's totally different. It's like you're doing great. Hey, look out for this, look out for that. This is more let the racing happen.
Yes, approaching is now bow number 13, Scott Gavin Wisniewski and Matthew Henwood coming from Shipley. That's Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. Yes, as a...
Oh, boom. Gorarian and Smith's record lives another year. They were at 17-13. Really good row. Oh, nope. Sorry. It looks like it's refreshing.
Yes, so we're
gone. 17-13 was the old course record. The new one is 16:56 by Maritime.
That is
congratulations to those guys.
Big new record.
Sean and Pete were only 3 seconds off of the old course record.
Bow number 9 in front of us now, Jackson Hole Rowing Club and Union, Thomas Shoemaker and Thomas Schumacher.
Yeah, so Sean,
that is just a fun duo.
They go out, and they just like they're just a couple seconds off of a course record, and then they get another crew in that race that just drops the course record by almost 20 seconds. Woof!
Nate's good. Powered by 4 Plus granola.
Yeah. We're obviously having fun.
Oh yes. I have volunteered at a couple other events or activities at the Charles before, but announcing is by far the most fun.
Yeah, we've got a good view.
Yes, best view. Yeah. We get to sit. I have a captive audience who has to listen to my jokes, and I can tell you we are sponsored by Italy, which is part of the reason why I'm not racing. I am too fat from Italy. Italy Boston is the proud volunteer lunch sponsor of the head of the Charles Regatta. At Italy, we cook what we sell, and we sell what we cook. We're bustling 45,000 square foot Italian marketplace overflowing with restaurants, takeaway counters, a full grocery market, and cooking school.
Yeah. So
we invite you to eat, shop, learn with us all season long. Visit the kiosk at Weld this weekend for their specialty snacks and retail favorites.
So if you go to Silver Skiff in Turin, that's where the first Italy is. And you can go there, and like everybody wants to eat something different during a race or something like that. So it's a combination of supermarket and little boutique restaurants.
Yeah, I've been
so everybody can eat what they want.
I've been the one here.
So this one's in the Peru Center, so it's pretty easy to get to. But Raw Bar is outstanding. All of the cured meats, the charcuterie is outrageous. The pasta is homemade. And the pizza is outstanding. And then there's the secret sauce for going fast to the regatta. There's a Piedmontese drink called Beecherin. Okay.
Yes, I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
The one of the dangerous things is that it is a grocery store, import, fresh-made grocery store with restaurant as well. But they also let you drink wine as you transition from restaurant to grocery store to grocery store to wine.
And they sell some grappa in the liquor store too.
So they know how to get you.
Beecherin, just to get you going, is the hot chocolate is made with a little bit of cornstarch, so it sticks. So they layer in some hot chocolate. Then they put a shot of espresso on top of that, and then they layer that with whipped cream. So, like, you need something to make you go fast, go to Italy and get a Beecherin.
So we have a couple more crews coming down the course, approaching our dock now from the men's master double event. Out in front is bow number 8. That is in the light blue unis, leading the two
Here we
boats.
go. We got more overlap coming.
Bow number 8 is Port
Okey-dokey.
Jefferson.
Here we go. Men's
And
Masters 8's coming up.
They
So
are
these
holding
doubles-
off the Quebec crews, but watch out. We have men's master eights.
So it's a responsibility of racing crews if there's an overtaking crew to do their best to get out of the way. And it's pretty clear this coxswain is signaling that he's going to be going to the Cambridge shore through the bridge. And
Yes,
this 8 is probably moving at about 15 minutes.